that this is their report on what's going on at this point in time, okay? Go ahead, guys.
So after the debate, we tried to get Mr. Holman surprised, but then everyone started debating over it, so.
And we were the only homeroom that had dress down day in our top 3 choices. So we couldn't really argue it out. I mean, we could try to withdraw off the Senate meeting.
Because the Senate meeting has much less people and it won't be as chaotic, so we could probably try to get it back because we have more representatives than the section that has Mr. Holman's secret surprise. So we could get that because that was also in the top 3. Unless you guys want no quiz. Do you guys want no quiz?
Sure.
I don't mind.
Anything other than dress down there.
I mean, no quiz could still be hard because I think they had 2 representatives.
We could.
No, because that means
we could try.
we won't, and then that means we won't learn it
Just
as
do
we
this
know
one,
won't be
just do this
qualified.
one.
And quizzes, like, it's
not
No,
very hard.
Mr. Duke is gonna be impossible.
Do
Because
anything.
it's not very hard. Yeah, and so I'll try to get Mr. Holman's secret surprise. If not, then we'll have to be like with just Justin. Are you guys fine with that?
Yeah.
No.
Just try anything.
It's not that bad.
That's
You
what
guys voted for it.
Yeah, you
I
guys
didn't.
voted for
No,
it.
okay, it's fine,
The
but.
majority voted for it. That's what's in our top 3. So that's
No,
what
they
we
didn't.
get.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did, guys.
There was like 4 people who voted for it. That was majority when we took vote. Okay?
Yeah, there was I think this school
14
girl
people.
voted for it, and I think Hallie did, and the rest of you either didn't vote or you abstained out.
I do.
Yeah. So
Everybody-
all I remember is a lot of you guys voted for it, so that's how it got me on top 3. And I guess that's it.
Yeah. Fine. It's not that.
Okay, all set?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's one of those things, it's a wonderful part about democracy and our constitutional republic is that you will always hear people say, don't blame me, I didn't vote. But actually you can blame those people who didn't vote because had they voted, then maybe the outcome would have been different. For those people at home, I don't know who's gonna be gone today from what section, so let me tell you, at this point in time, having only gone through the House of Representatives, this is where their bill says things fall. Washington will receive the dress down day. Adams will receive the lunch perk. Jefferson has been elected to receive the snack day. Madison will be receiving Mr. Holman's secret surprise. Get out of my swamp will have the no homework perk. Brother may I consume the cheese will receive the outside board game day perk. JoJo Sweeha's receding hairline will be getting Mr. G's secret surprise, and Mr. G's fans will receive no quiz. So that's the way it's divided. Another interesting thing about this is, I know that there's one section in 8th grade that didn't think through the election. They had several people run for the House, nobody run for the Senate. And from what Mr. G tells me is that they don't have a senator, so they don't really have a say in the Senate, which means they kind of got ignored in the House. Because why listen to them when it goes over to the other chamber? They have no chance to change anything and things can be changed opposite them. So again, these elections are important. And let's see here, next thing. Does anybody else have, this is the last day to do it, permission slip to watch Cold Mountain. And we will be doing that, I believe, next Tuesday. Yes, sir. Okay, so next thing there is, yes, Dr. Speedo, that would not be the skinny swimsuit, that would be fast on grading tests. Okay, Hamza, quick, up here, fast. Omar, going once, going twice, going thrice. Thinking about how to prepare. Look, for those who are thinking about how to prepare for a test, I think I told you guys at the start of the year, if you think a Packer game is won on Sundays, you're absolutely wrong. Packer games are played on Sundays. They're won Monday through Saturday while they practice and prepare. If you think you're going to sit down for a test and get a 100 because you're going to take this 40 minutes out of your life to take the test, but you haven't prepared all those days leading up to it, no, that's not the way it works. Incidentally, most of the grades in this were pretty shiny, pretty good. All right, here we go. Next thing, let's go through these, answer a couple of questions. Okay, let's hear it fast. Which was the first state to secede? Which government could best be described as a loosely formed alliance? That is the definition of a confederation, a loosely formed alliance. After this, the South could no longer win the war militarily. Pickett's charge, they had lost too many men, they couldn't resupply their armies with more recruits. Who was the president of the CSA? All right, at which battle did Grant ask for unconditional surrender, then give generous terms the next day? Vicksburg. Which Union general was struck on the head by a beam during the Battle of Chancellorsville? Joe Hooker, cool. Let's see here, which Confederate general lost his arm in his life at Chancellorsville? Which group of laborers was most likely to die from European diseases?
Native Americans.
What percentage of Southerners actually owned one or more slaves? 25%. The statistic I gave you was 75% did not own, which meant 25% did own. Have you recovered, babe? No? What, honey?
My eyes are watering.
Uh-oh. Can we do anything for you?
I can go to the office.
Okay. Otherwise, I could step hard on your foot, then you wouldn't think about your eyes. Okay. All right, here we go. Which was an act of war? Both A and B. All right, you need to list the 11 Confederate states. Here they come. South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, Virginia, Texas, and Louisiana. Easiest thing on the test. Why?
It's 3 points.
It's there twice. They're all spelled correctly and everything, just a couple of pages further. No, you didn't. What have you got here? Is this clearly larger than the lowercase letters? Because they're supposed. Oh, yeah. If you take out your microscope and measure this thing with a little tiny little measuring thing. I should take out more points just for argument. Yes.
You took off for Tennessee, even though it's spelled correctly.
Let me see this.
Except for this one.
Let's see. Capital TENNESSEE. Well, I guess I'm grading too quickly. All right.
Yay,
All right, let me see here. We'll give us one of those points there. Make that 2. Next this. All right. Gustav or anybody else that I switch a grade for, remember, if I write it on your paper, it means exactly nothing. After class, you need to come up here and I need to put it into the grade book before you leave. Otherwise, you got it on your paper, but it's not in your grades. Yes?
Was Missouri one of the states?
Missouri, no. Lincoln prevented Missouri from seceding.
Oh, that's
Okay,
right.
Omar.
Mississippi.
I meant to ask you this before class, but I forgot. The extra credit reading list, when it says like the date that this is on, are the ones below it, the ones it will be on, or the ones above it?
Yes, those are the ones you have to look at. Those are the ones you have to read. Like if it's Edgar Allan Poe short stories, and it lists 6 short stories or something, those are the ones you have to read. Okay? Allows your question.
Wait, so Ben-Hur we have to read at the end of the
Yes. Okay, cool. What else have we got here? Next page, 5 examples of what made the Civil War a modern war. Okay, guys, think about it. Some people said things that were way too general, like bombs. I mean, bombs have been around for centuries and centuries. Repeating rifles, balloons, trains, telegraphs, battlefield first aid, successful submarine attacks, ironclads. Anybody have anything else?
African Americans fought in the war.
Well, that would have been new to warfare, but and I'm not sure that would have made it modern. Yeah, kind of. I'm thinking that. Yes.
I would like to know more in detail about repeating rifles, but come on, you want me to?
You'd like to know what?
You want to know some more facts about repeating rifles?
No, sorry. We have too much to do here, buddy. Yes.
Okay.
Did you say first aid? Okay.
Yes, first day on the battlefield.
And also the first ship was sunk by the.
Yes, first successful submarine attack. Okay, thoroughly explain the 4 steps of the Anaconda Plan. Number 1, cut off all trade between North and South. Number 2, put a naval blockade around the Confederate coast to stop trade with the rest of the world. Number 3, capture and control the Mississippi River, cutting the Confederacy in half. Number 4, squeeze the Eastern Confederacy into submission. Let's see here, what would it take for each side to win? We mentioned this several times. The North had to recapture the South, and the South had to hold on until the North let them go to become a separate country. Yes, sir?
I said the Union had to keep the United States united. What if that kind of is?
How many points did I take off?
2.
It's worth 4. What else did you say?
I said the South, the Confederates had to become a separate nation, and you said.
All right, let me see it afterwards. Mark that and come up and see it, because if I change it, I'll change it as a grade book, everybody. Okay, let me see here. Give 2 examples of generalship, poor generalship on the part of Northern commanders. You could have said McClellan being hesitant. There were several examples. McClellan not using Lee's plans to attack separate parts of his army. Halleck not coordinating the attack of the 2 armies. Burnside foolishly attacking at Fredericksburg. Winfield Scott being old and fat, I'd even take that. Lew Wallace getting lost in the woods. And there were several others, but those were the biggies. Okay. Circle the Confederate States. In the row on the left, it is Virginia, Arkansas, and Texas. In the center row, it's Florida and Alabama. In the third row, it's South Carolina and North Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee. Yes.
I got this one wrong. I circled Missouri instead of South Carolina.
I should slap you.
Please don't.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Come see me afterwards and maybe I'll slap you, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, guys. What's the capital city of the United States?
Washington, D.C.
There were probably 8 kids in the 7th grade that left that blank. You don't know what your nation's capital is.
What? I thought it changed.
Capital of the Confederate States.
Richmond.
Was Richmond, Virginia? I was happy with Richmond. You know what you're talking about. Okay, the year of the Declaration of Independence.
1776.
Billy the Conqueror.
1066.
Jimtown.
1607.
Spanish Armada.
1588.
Jesus.
0.
African slaves.
1619.
Leif Erikson.
1003.
Chris Columbus.
1492.
Okay, your best example of power as a theme, the way most people who made errors was by saying, giving me an example of someone using power or having power instead of somebody doing an action motivated by power. Another thing which came out again was somebody wanting or needing something. Somebody saying, the North needed to do this. That's not an action. If I need to eat, I'm not doing an action. I'm not eating. I just need to do that action, but I haven't done it yet. So you have to say an action. Thumbs up.
Can I give an example of power?
Okay, if it means a lot to you, go for it.
An example of power are slaves. They purposely chose Africans as slaves because they were near powerless. So if the Europeans take the Africans, they can fight to get them back. On the other hand, if they try to take Germans or French as slaves, the country would fight as soon as possible.
Okay, I'm pretty close to liking that, except for the fact that you said they. That's not a specific person or persons. Okay, you can't just say they did something or people did something. That's not specific enough. All right, circle. N for North Union or S for South Confederate. Abe Lincoln.
N.
George McClellan.
N.
Stonewall Jackson.
S.
Jeff Davis.
S.
Ulysses Grant.
N.
More slaves.
S.
Joe Hooker.
N.
George Meade.
N.
Robert E. Lee.
S.
Ambrose Burnside.
N.
Joe Johnston.
S.
Winfield Scott.
N.
More factories.
N.
Greater white population.
N.
Richard Ewell.
S.
Winfield Scott Hancock.
N.
Cool. Was there ever a civil war in the United States? We had some great answers. All I was looking for was for you to think. If you just said, that wasn't enough. I mean, I need a little explanation here. I gave you a little space. It said answer in complete sentences, so I needed at least a sentence or two out of you. And if somebody said, no, there was a fight between two countries, the Confederate States of America in the North and the United States of America, that was great. That was showing a point of view, which was the whole point of this question. And say they took a Confederate point of view and said, no, it's two countries. So that doesn't make it a civil war. Some people said, yes, those were just rebellious states. Or one person said, yes, because they failed in their revolution and did not become a separate country. And that was great too. That was, again, point of view. And then I did actually give credit to a couple of people who said, no, war is always aggressive, it's never civil. I thought that was pretty funny. And I gave credit for that. I told you guys early on, if you read a question and it makes sense the way you read it, but it's not how I intended, then that's my fault for not making it perfectly clear. And it's perfectly acceptable that you answer the question the way you read it. So that was fine. Okay, good stuff.
Yeah, because you had it uncapitalized, which is not the big Civil War, so.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a civil war.
I just
But
said
the
it
big
was
Civil
reading it.
War was a civil war. So you can't say there was a Civil War capital, but not a Civil War lowercase, because it was one. It was just a specific one. Give an example of land. By far the most popular one was the Union and the Confederacy racing up to capture Little Round Top for the high ground. Grand taking the Mississippi. Okay, cool. I know what you want. You want notes. Yes, hello.
Yeah.
You take those notebooks out. Let's do it.
Anywhere where
Okay, whoa. Shh. Not 17 conversations. Are you better yet? Do I need to step on your feet? Because I will do this for you. You sure? Okay, are you better, huh? Okay. Yes,
I said that to see if we tried to keep
you gotta show me individually, okay? I can't answer it. It's just, you gotta come up afterwards with another question anyway, so look at it there. All right, here we go. Economies at war. All right.
You made them fun colors. Why is it neon?
Okay, we said this was a modern war. So we had all those good things we just listed there: telegraphs, balloons, trains, repeating rifles, successful submarine attack, ironclad, battlefield first aid, all kinds of things that made this a modern war. I'm sorry, I got photobombed by my can.
That's
Okay. Now, listen to me carefully. This is huge. Military striking power, the ability to attack, to fight, is supported, conditioned, and limited by the physical scope and vitality of the basic economy. Boy, that's big. That's tough English. What it means is the ability to fight a war depends on how strong a country's economy is. Okay? To keep it going, you have to have a strong economy.
Alright, can you put that slide up for a bit?
Okay. Let's go.
Can you spell, wait,
Baseball.
what was the title again? It was Economy.
Economies at war.
Okay, how do you spell?
ECONOMIES.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Should we write that down?
As long as you have the idea, that's all you need. That the ability to continue to fight a war depends on the economy being strong. Yes,
Who wrote that? Who said?
doesn't matter. It came out of your textbook, but we're not using the textbooks this year, so we're not gonna worry about it. So we'll say this guy did, okay?
What?
Yes,
The Duncan textbook. The purple thing.
no, that's a geography textbook.
No, what's the other system?
The other purple ones, no.
Those are all.
There are no textbooks here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Now this is huge. Valor and devotion are not enough to win if it goes past the initial stages. Now those two things go hand in hand. To continue to fight a war, a country needs to have a strong economy. They have to be able to produce things to get it to the people who are going to consume them. If they can produce a lot of bullets, but they can't get them to the Army, that doesn't do any good. The South could produce a whole lot of food, but they couldn't get it to the cities and they couldn't get it to the armies. So it was useless to them. They'd have fruit rotting in the trees down south and the army starving a little further up north. So they continued to fight. I said after they lost at Gettysburg, they continued for 2 more years on dedication to the cause, on valor, on good generals, but it really was a matter of they were starting to lose the war more and more, almost on a daily basis, because they couldn't support their war effort anymore. They didn't have a strong enough economy. So this is great at the start, but it doesn't work continuing on. Okay. The South had rejected the Industrial Revolution. When all those cool machines and factories and everything came around, they all went up north, or almost all of them went up north, because boy, the North was hungry for some new things for their economy. The South said, no, you build the mills up there and we'll grow the cotton down here. So they stayed agricultural. We don't want all those factories. We don't want all those mills. We don't want all that nasty, stinky industrial stuff. We want to grow cotton. And then we'll sell it, and whatever you guys make up north, we can buy it from you later. Okay, yes, sir.
And that's why the South wanted more slaves, so that they could make cotton.
Yep. Okay. All right, we got it? Cool.
No.
Well, then here's this giant thing in the way. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Slavery had done some damage to the South. And the damage it did, I mean, the South was going along. They were rich as could be. Sorry, it's really hard to take notes when you don't have a notebook out. Okay, it had done damage to the South. You know, the South, man, they were living high. They were selling all that cotton before the Civil War. There was a lot of wealth in the South. But some problems happened when the war came up. For example, there wasn't a class of skilled workers. All the things like carpentry and stonemason and those things, they didn't need to have a group of people that could do that. Free people, because they could use slaves to do that. Plantations were independent places. People that were carpenters might buy a couple of slaves and have them working for them. So they didn't develop this class of people who did that kind of skilled work. Lots of farmers, that's what most people did back then, but the skilled trades, not so much. And it remained rural, whereas the North was getting the big cities and the things that go along with that. The South had a few, Atlanta, Charleston, but not that many. For the most part, it was all little tiny towns and plantations surrounding them. And it kept them from developing industry. Why should we develop industry when we can just buy slaves and get filthy rich growing cotton? So it had done some damage to the Southern economy. As a result, during the Civil War, the South didn't make a single mile of railroad tracks. They couldn't. They didn't have the factories that made railroad tracks. As I just said, they could grow plenty of food, but they couldn't get it to the people who needed it. So they could grow a lot. They could, they could raise the corn, they could grow the peaches and everything, but they couldn't get it to anybody. And as a result, they had to strip the shoes and the clothes from dead Federals because they couldn't produce the uniforms to supply their army. And rather than go barefoot or freeze, they'd just take the uniforms off the dead Federal soldiers. And they had a very unstable currency. Okay. This is not a toy. This is not to be crinkled up. It's not funny if you damage it in any way. Not even a little bit funny. This is a real Confederate $20 bill. Okay, this is the real thing. Museum piece, this is a real Confederate $20 bill. You'll notice because their economy was so slowed up and they didn't have the machinery to do a whole lot, this is hand signed, okay? And there's even some writing on the back, is it a number and such? So This is the real thing. Be careful as you handle this, but we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna hand it to Chloe. She can take a peek, pass it along. It's going back from Cha-Cha to James. James is gonna give it to Lal. It's going over here. Gonna give it to, Emily's gonna give it to Hamza. Hamza's gonna pass it along. It will end up with Sawyer. Sawyer will bring it back up to me. Now, you'll notice it's only printed on one side because their economy was so weak. They didn't have the ink. They didn't want to take the effort. Plus, their currency wasn't worth a whole lot. It kept being devalued because as they lost more and more territory, more and more wealth, more and more power, as the Civil War went on, the government backing that currency seemed less and less likely that anyone would ever get paid for it. Okay. Oh, just a picture of me with the Lincolns.
Oh, I went there.
Yeah, we're buds, yeah.
What?
He's a little taller than I am, but he's got his hair flipped up too.
I'm seeing
All right, what happened in the North with the economy? In the North, industry boomed. I mean, it boomed. As a matter of fact, when things are going really well with factories and such, they start to retool, they start to buy newer machines. They said that in the 4 years of Civil War, the North jumped about a generation, about 20 years in how good their factories were. They started to grow things make things much faster, much better, so they could get them out and get them into the war effort. Up in the North, again, farm goods sold at a premium. That means there's a price, but people paid over that. Anybody know what's going on right now where people have to pay over the price? No, there's some big market in the United States right now.
Yeah.
No. Houses. Houses.
Houses?
Right now, if somebody puts their house up for sale for like $250,000, it's gonna be gone like that, and they're probably gonna get like $275,000 or $280,000. People are paying a premium because there are so many people looking to buy and so few people producing that people are paying much more. I just bought a condo. I paid $31,000 over the asking price because there were already 4 offers on day one. For that condo, it's just insane. Yes.
There's this one house in our neighborhood. Okay, we went to go see it for like a family member or something, and the next day it was sold.
Yeah. The way we're gonna do mine's going on sale, the one up at Hartford's going on sale next week. I'm gonna start showing it to people on Friday, and on Sunday, I'll look at all the offers and choose which one we're gonna take. So it's insane. Usually houses take, I don't know, somewhere between 3 weeks and 10 weeks to sell. And now it's, just 2-3 days max. Yeah, buddy.
Wait,
Omar.
if Southerners took the uniforms off the Northerners,
Why didn't they get shot?
Yeah.
They dye them, bleach them, something to identify them as Confederate. They wouldn't just put on a Northern uniform that was bright blue and run among the Confederates. Yeah, that would be a stupid thing to do. Delilah. What does it mean by, well, we're about to get there, see? We're up here. Okay. So farm goods sold at a premium, and that meant all the farm goods. Remember we talked about the products. So eggs, cheese, beef, wheat, rye, oats, flax, rice, whatever you got. Lincoln needed to feed his army. And they're literally 1 million men in uniform and probably more out there. And he's got to feed them 3 meals a day. He needs such a huge amount of food coming in that they're willing to say, okay, hey, Farmer Joe, how many eggs do you make in a day? Well, I got a huge operation. I make 1,000 eggs. Well, how much are they? Well, they're $1 a dozen, but, I have 20 people I already sell to, and the union would come in and say, well, how about I pay you $1.20 a dozen, but you sell them all to me? Okay, yeah, that's 20% more than I was making, so sure, I'll take that deal. All right, byproducts. Byproducts, remember, are something made while producing something else. Something made while producing something else. Okay, where's the bill? Where's the
No, it's right
Confederate?
here.
Oh, okay, don't just leave it to die there, buddy. Okay. So, for example, we talked about before, if someone's growing beef cattle, well, they're growing the cattle so they can sell the meat, but they can take the skin off and make leather goods. They can make saddles or buggy whips, hats, boots, belts, whatever out of that leather. That's a byproduct of raising the cows for meat, the steers for meat. Yeah.
Wait, would cheese be a byproduct if you actually wanted it to?
No, milk is an ingredient, but it's not something that's just kind of there. Otherwise, you have to use it. Milk is an ingredient for it. Okay. And farmers went to war just as the Industrial Revolution hit. Farmers have a real love for their country because they get up every day and they stick their hands in the soil. You know, probably if mom or dad's a doctor, they don't get up every morning, go out to the wet soil and go, yes, life, land. Farmers do, okay? Farmers spend their life with their hands dirty. They love the soil, they love the ground, they love the country in a different kind of a way. And now the war is going on, the country being torn apart, and lots of farmers are saying, I'm gonna go fight. But they need this food. But it happened in such a way that the farmers left the farms just as the Industrial Revolution happened. And now there were new thrashers and mowers and reapers and all kinds of machines that farmers could use, so that actually the few farmers who stayed behind could produce more than when there were that many people on the farm because of, again, the Industrial Revolution. But of course, the South didn't have that. Okay, the Homestead Act of 1862. Let me use this cute little map here. Okay, the country went over to here, and then look up here. There's all this wide open territory. Remember that gray area where it's not quite states? Lincoln's got all this land. This is the bread basket. I mean, this is incredible farm country. And Lincoln says, I need food. The Homestead Act of 1862 said, okay, look, here's the deal. If someone comes over to this area where it's such a great farm area, they come over, I'll give them, the United States will give them a farm. Here you go, a free farm. And what do they have to do in exchange? Sell their products to the government, not give it for free, sell it, and remember the government's buying it at a premium. So if you come over and sell your farm goods for a really good price, we'll give you the farm. I mean, it's an incredible deal. So although the United States suffered hundreds of thousands of casualties, of deaths in the Civil War, the population of the North actually grew because more than 800,000 immigrants came over and said, wait a minute, I'm over in Europe. I can't own land because all the nobles own that. I'm heading over here. Not only can I get land, I get land for free, and I automatically have somebody to sell my stuff to, the government. So more than 800,000 people came. Railroads grew because now they had to extend railroads out to get that food from out here. And last thing, National Bank Act of 1863. We talked about when the Mormons moved, how maybe an insurance company issued money, maybe a bank issued money. Now it says, just American dollars. We're going with American dollars, United States currency. That's what we're going to use now. Okay.
Handyman.
This has got nothing to do with anything except this is right near my house. It was in a Walmart parking lot. And I just couldn't believe someone did that to the back of their truck. It's it's Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, you know, and
You guys right on
this is you see these once in a while. People are so. This is a picture of like a Yeti walking, and underneath it says, "I believe." With this guy, I mean, I tell you, you know, the nice pose on the Yeti, that's beautiful. Yes, sir.
Can you please go back a slide?
Can I go back a slide? I wouldn't do this for just anybody.
Oh,
Dance time! Yeah, Yes, Omar.
On the note thing, the classroom, did it say Homestead Act of 1863? Yeah, but it said Homestead Act.
1862. It's right there.
Yeah, but like the notes that you. The note said 1862.
No, it says 1862. The Bank Act of 63, the Homestead Act of 62. The note said something different? Yeah, 62 and 63.
Interesting.
So what we're saying is Omar is in fact insane.
yes.
All right,
We're
okay,
just figuring it
guys,
out.
guys, Chacha. Railroad.
How are you?
All right, how about you then?
I'm pretty good.
All right, let's see here. Are we done?
We had the Gettysburg Address or whatever.
Wait, what was the?
Give me a moment, I gotta sharpen my pencil.
Gosh.
It's really loud.
Okay.
This is over this side. It won't come off. I've been
Okay, tiny
You
people,
can burn it off.
we are going
Just
to,
saying.
we're gonna call it a day. You've got lesson 71 to enter into, into your notebooks. All right, yes ma'am.
Are we not gonna read the anything else?
No, because we only have 2 minutes. Seems like a little rush. I mean, it's short, but that's a little too short.
They don't